Good evening. It is Tuesday
Evening.
night. It is the 15th of February, and I think I've worked out some technology. I couldn't schedule the session, but I think we're here. I think we're broadcasting. I think we're live. I am Robbie Herrick, and I'm joined by Harrison. Harrison, where are you? How are you? And you are looking beautiful.
Always looking beautiful. Look good, feel good. I'm at work. That's why you're hosting. Just to throw it on you last minute. I like putting pressure on you. I'm all right, mate. Great Superbowl to watch, apart from the last 5 minutes because of the refs, and a great halftime show. So in a good mood.
And more importantly, how is that lovely wife of yours?
Very deeply, very heavily pregnant at the minute.
How long you got left before you're playing receiver?
27 days.
Very much looking forward to hearing you bitch and moan about how tired you are. Segue beautifully. You mentioned the Super Bowl. We are obviously 2 days post Super Bowl. You did mention the last 5 minutes, of which I managed to fall asleep in. I am more than manly enough to admit that. I found the game tedious. I found it a lack of real kind of quality. But as the whole game, what did you make of it?
It was better than the last one. I mean, do I think on our day the Colts beat both of them teams? Yeah. Obviously we're not there. You have to get there first off. But I didn't watch both of them teams thinking this is two champions going. I sort of watched both of them teams go in. It felt like a bit like an FA Cup final.
No, do you know what? And for those that will be logging in and watching this that didn't watch the Super Bowl, don't know why you wouldn't have, but the LA Rams managed to win 23-20 versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Looking at the Rams first, obviously we lost to them week 2.
Yeah.
27-14, I think it was. Looking at Matt Stafford, and his stats and the way he played, it reminded me very much of Wentz. Very much up and down, very stop-start, lack that fluidity. And the running games from the Rams, like Cam Akers, 1.6 yards a carry. I would expect you to do that.
Yeah, I could probably fall forward for that. It's. I think everyone was a bit. What's the right word to say? The ending was very anticlimactic. Aaron Donald making a stop on the last play. Bollocks. Who does a pass option on 4th and 1 in the Super Bowl with your last potential play of the game?
Yeah.
Awful play calling. Especially when you got Joe Mixon, who isn't a half bad running back. Stafford. People, I'm not surprised, were absolutely raving over his no-look pass, which, don't get me wrong, was ballsy and really decent, but I expect any top 10 QB to be able to make that throw without doing a no-look. So, yeah, like you said, it was fun watching Jalen Ramsey get burnt because I don't believe he's the best corner in the game. That's an absolute overreaction.
Overreaction, overrated.
Overrated, yeah. That's what I was looking for.
I was saying that when he was at Jacksonville, I think because he talks the loudest, I think he gets most press attention for that position.
Give me Kenny Moore all day. Even Rock. Rock's still not there yet.
Rock's performance this year, I'd definitely have you on that.
It was the 5th. Rock Ya-Sin was the 5th highest graded cornerback in man-to-man situations, whatever you want to call it. Don't get me wrong. If the Colts went and got Jalen Ramsey for a 4th round pick, even one first round pick, you're not mad at it. But like you say, I think because he's the loudest talker, people seem to think he's the best. No. But it felt like a week 7 game there was the defenses showed up, both teams, I believe. The defensive line for the Bengals is, like we said, you stopped the running game completely for the Rams, but
absolute shutdown.
Yeah, so like you say, it was just a bit lackluster.
Yeah, we'll definitely come on to the refs, but looking at Cincinnati, obviously Joe Burrow gets all the talking points. He gets all the kind of, he's the future of the NFL. Apparently he's taken over Brady's crown and all that nonsense and all that bravado that comes with it. But what did you make of, first of all, Joe Burrow for the Super Bowl, that singular game, and obviously what did you make of him throughout the season for what you watched?
I mean, I take it you've seen the meme that came true about the Bengals just before the draft. It came out. For those who haven't seen it, it's a simple stickman figure of Burrow not being able to throw it to to Jamar Chase. Yeah, it came true. But I really like Joy B. I'm going to say this, Colts fans can hate me, but he is the second coming of Andrew Luck. I think the way he plays, his accuracy, his deep accuracy, he's very identical to Luck. He can tuck it and run it. They've really got to pick up an oil lineman, haven't they? They have to do something with that offensive line.
And fans of the NFL, especially the Colts fans, we can appreciate the beating that Andrew Luck took.
Yeah.
And seeing him over and over again take the hits. I think it's sacked 51 times, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. The most, it's been widely reported, how many sacks he took. And, to be in that position, but still get up and still keep going, it's definitely a credit. And, I definitely agree with that. I wouldn't say he's as accurate as Andrew Luck. Definitely not as game winning as Andrew Luck, but certainly you can see them traits.
Yeah, so it's still a long way to go. We like to throw this comparison game onto 17-year-old kids coming out of college that are the next Jerry Rice or the next Darius Leonard. We like to throw that comparison thing about because it's something I've really thought about a lot. And what annoys me on Twitter is people make up these random fucking stats to justify why they think mediocre is best.
Yeah.
I've got someone telling me, or not telling me personally, but just putting it, out there. People will tell you, "Oh, Jonathan Taylor's run." I think at the start of the season, we're saying he's running for 4 yards. We should get rid of him, and just, they make up like running with the ball without one hand on a defender, carrying 3 linebackers or something like that per yardage, X, Y, and Z grids of. I'm just like, just enjoy football.
You can
enjoy a great quarterback.
That's one thing I've loved from the players. I think I've said loads of times now. I've really not enjoyed this season. I've not enjoyed watching football.
No.
Just because of what we've put out in the field. But as a playoffs as a whole, I thought the standard was very, very good. It's telling the Bengals got into the Super Bowl with a 10-7 record. They managed to peak just at the right time. Whereas if we had that kind of week 6 to week 10, that form, if we could have just carried it on, it's all shoulda, coulda, wouldas.
Yeah.
But I don't think, in that last game, in that final in a Super Bowl, I don't think we could fear either of those teams.
No, I think we do. I think next year if we play both teams, we do what the Colts do best, and that's beat teams that beat us in the previous season.
Yeah.
I don't think we played the Bengals this year, did we? But
no.
You get my point. We did it to the Chiefs, and we did it to we nearly did it to the Bucks. This year, it's just one of them. Like we say, it's a lot of ifs, buts, and shoulds, and woulds and coulds. And if we go back to, I think it might have been against LA or the game after, where the player just absolutely bear hugged our wide receiver and didn't get a DPI thrown against him. It's like we say, it's just we say it hasn't been enjoyable. As a whole, it's been very bipolar, very stop-start, very Carson Wentz.
To be fair, that section in the middle, we were loving it. We were riding high.
And, let's not forget, receivers and running backs have had to change the way they carry the ball this year because of Darius Leonard. Ever since Darius Leonard has not been in these since we got knocked out of the playoffs in Clowntown, how many punch-outs did you see in the playoffs? None. Yeah, there might have been one or two that I missed, but because I didn't watch all the games. But so we have had that enjoyable moment. It's just under Frank Reich, and we could talk about the coaches forever. We have this mentality where there's always another game. We're not upset enough for losses with me, like. So yeah. But...
No. That's definitely fair. Moving on, I wanted to talk about the refs from the game because me and you are quite. I'd say we pick it up a lot more than the average fan. I think we notice a lot of the bad decisions or bad mistakes that the refs are making, and I think we picked up pretty quickly. The fact the Super Bowl, the amount of first of all the offensive line, the defensive line, the amount of holding that was going on.
Yeah,
that just weren't getting flagged. And then obviously Jalen Ramsey with that face mask, which they quite clearly missed, and the jumbotron was there, which they'd have seen it 30 seconds later.
Yeah,
and then just that. I don't even know. I can't even put a superlative to it to the end of the game. Like how a referee could justify those decisions.
Yeah, I think what sets it apart from people just going out rest because they believe the game's rigged or it's against their team. We acknowledge that the refereeing's been poor for both sides of the ball.
Mm.
By any means, the Bengals didn't lose the game because of the refs. But it just felt, it was definitely a ghost DPI call on the Bengals linebacker. I believe it was a linebacker in the red zone. There was nothing there, and everyone's highlighted the video of offensive linemen getting a false start and people jumping. The refereeing is poor, but that's not just the NFL. That's all around the world in every single sport. You're never going to agree with something that goes against your team.
But sitting there as neutrals, obviously we both watch soccer over here, and VAR is a joke. Both when you're in the stadium, when you're at home, I don't even know what a handball is, and I've been watching football for 30 years. And where it then obviously comes to the NFL, they've got such good, their technology is way above than what the Premier League's got.
Yeah.
And how they can still make these massive errors just to me is bewildering in a game that that's a multi-billion-pound game on Sunday night. And the fact it's almost like the result on field or what happens on field doesn't actually matter. When it comes to Super Bowl, it's it's having The Rock do a pre-game speech. It's about having that halftime.
It was shockingly bad.
Oh, we'll come on to that.
Yeah.
And then it's and it's about I saw so many people on Twitter during the Super Bowl saying, "Oh, the advert's been really bad." I'm like, I'm here to watch the game. I want to see the product on the field.
Yeah.
And watch basically for me, it just seems like there's not enough investment in the referees in actually looking after the integrity of the game. They just want little show reels, little clips they can post on social media so they can get advertising money.
Yeah, I mean, we could spend hours on conspiracies about what I think about referees in sport and sports corrupt and all that. But at the end of the day, they messed up. They're human beings.
Yeah.
I can fully accept that. You can miss a face mask penalty. But
is that not why the video reviews air? Obviously, when we're in the stadium for the Premier League, we don't get the replays on the big screen.
Yeah.
But you can see Jalen Ramsey pointing up to the big screen, and that's the next snap hasn't happened. So is there not a case of like they can just?
You get to a dangerous game then of every player is going to point up at the screen and say, "Look, he held me here. Why are you not calling it?" They have to give. For me, it's bad that they show it on the jumbo screen to an audience. But again, I'm of the opinion that you don't win and lose games because of refs. You win and lose games because you're either not good enough or you're better than the other team.
Oh, definitely. The offense, you could have called it anyway. If the Bengals went and won it, you'd be like, yeah, no, that's fair. But if Rams were on it, so I do get your point, and it's just the fact that was the last kind of play we're going to get of live football until August. It's like, oh man, it's a bit of a kick in the ass. Whereas like you go back to some great endings like the Patriots Seahawks.
Yeah,
Russell tried throwing it on the 2-3 yard line, whatever it was. Malcolm Jenkins made a name for himself, and it's a wonderful thing, the game we're watching. But let's move on to The Rock.
Yeah,
I want to see John Fashanu in an FA Cup final given a wooga before the game.
Yeah,
it makes no sense to me because The Rock owns XFL, who obviously going to try and compete, but they're not going to be able to compete. What was it all about?
Well, I don't mind the showmanship. That's America. That's the American dream, isn't it? That's the big I am. That's the massive truck cruising down Route 66 with an eagle flying over it. Just it was like he couldn't be asked because there wasn't a team he cared about. Like, if you're going to do that, get Michael Buffer because he is an announcer. Do you know what I mean? He is the guy. Or, I think his brother does UFC, or he's a relative does UFC. Get someone who's trained to do it. Don't get someone who's got one catchphrase.
And he didn't even do it properly.
Yeah, and it's like it just felt lazy. It felt last minute. It felt like he didn't. He just said, "Oh, head spinning offense," and the underdog. Something just fell. It's The Rock. He's watching. But yeah, it all felt. And I remember watching it. It just all felt a bit It felt a bit LA. It just all felt a bit fake.
Yeah, no. I get it's not like for me. The best part about the pre-game is the national anthem. That is a wonderful song that when you've been to the games in the UK, it definitely puts chills through you. Like, it gets your kind of hairs on the end of your arms, like on edge, and it's a beautiful thing, and it's really patriotic, and I love it. But it just seemed a bit weird. But no, like the pre-game pageantry. I guess I'm just a bit of a miserable.
I don't hate the idea of the Champions League final having a halftime show. I think there are things we can take from the American game and the American lifestyle and develop it in our games. I saw a lot of people complaining because I think Harry Power or someone put out a tweet saying, that football has a long way to go, and it's just a joke, but people are taking it so serious.
Yeah, no. But, hey, I'm all up for a bit more pageantry in our game.
Yeah.
The Pepsi halftime show.
Loved it.
For the record and for full disclosure, I know nothing about hip hop.
Yeah,
right? I am
really
Johnny Cash. I am a Goo Goo Dolls. Anything with a guitar, I'm loving. Okay, I don't understand hip hop, but I was entertained.
It was. I mean, for me, it's never going to be I7 and Prince. It's just never going to beat that, because on top of the Colts winning the Super Bowl, he's singing Purple Rain in the Rain with a massive purple guitar. It's just amazing.
Proper showmanship.
But, Eminem, 50 Cent were my childhood, and they were products of Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, who were the older generation's, rap icons. And it was well put together, and Snoop Dogg smoking a joint just before he came on is fantastically Snoop. I love it.
It's legal there.
And it's Snoop. If you don't think Snoop Dogg's high, then there's something wrong with you.
I'm shocked he didn't open up with Just Eat, though.
Yeah. But the whole where, it zoomed out and Dr. Dre was stood there at the decks, and then the thingy came down and there's all the fans. And it was just, and Still Dre started playing. I was just like, that was fucking cold. Yeah, that gave me goosebumps.
I've gone back and watched it again because I thought maybe I was just caught in the moment. And, I enjoyed it. And again, I know nothing about hip hop whatsoever. Mary J. Blige come out and like, oh, that's the lady that owned a strip club in Rock of Ages. It just shows my musical knowledge. But it's good, because we've had people like Black Eyed Peas who are rubbish and Maroon 5 are average, and it was just nice because I felt the game was a little bit lackluster, especially going into the halftime, and it helped keep me in tune, which is not always good for a Super Bowl. And so go to the end of the game, more pageantry. I always get really, I'd say, annoyed. And again, it's total irrational annoyance. But they give the trophy to the owner. Like, yes, he's invested the money. Yes, he's the money guy. Yes, he's going to have final say on everything. But, those guys are just blood, sweat and tears all season. They put the body on the lines. Even the coaches, they're not sleeping. They're not seeing their families. And just be given to the owner. Like, I just wonder what your thoughts on that is.
Anytime I see the face of Stan Kroenke.
You put 2 and 2 together. Harrison, my apologies.
Anytime I see the face of Stan Kroenke, I want Vince McMahon. So everyone knows who Vince McMahon is.
Yeah,
the owner of WWE, probably one of the most ruthless businessmen. I'm getting that angry on spitting. One of the most ruthless businessmen and horrendous person for treating workers.
Yeah.
Turned round and said Stan Kroenke is a criminal. And that wasn't even a shoot for WWE. That wasn't acting or trying to get bait. He said it in an interview that Vince McMahon, thinks Stan Kroenke is a criminal. And I just look at him and I just hate him. I just hate him with a passion. And I suppose it's that thing of
big stadium. It's his new flashy team. Arsenal got the flashy stadium, but have won nothing.
Yeah, and it's not even that, because I don't hate Josh Kroenke, and he has a lot more to do with us than what Stan does. Just there's something off about him. There's something off about him. I don't trust him. It's like that with a lot of owners. The owner for me at the minute, who is probably the owner of the league, is Jim Irsay.
Yeah,
that guy sent about 50 Rams fans and 50 Bengals fans and 50 Colts fans to the Super Bowl with 10 grand spending money each.
Yeah, no, it looks really good, doesn't it?
But no, I know what you mean. I hate that little pedestal thing they have in the middle as well. What? And it just felt there was no celebration. As soon as you put an owner, if it's Jim Irsay, he's doing a Tyson Fury and singing a full Aerosmith song while playing a guitar. But someone like Stan Kroenke is my team played really well. I like Matthew Stafford. He's a good quarterback. We did really well. It's like,
just give it to the coaches, give it to the players, and let them have their party. But you know what? After seeing the final, after seeing them two teams, it's just finding that. I think we're just 1 or 2 players, game records away from being that next step. And I want to obviously go on to the Colts now.
Mm-hmm.
We've obviously had Eberflus leave since we were last here.
Yeah.
And we've had Brian Baker, the defensive line coach. Obviously he wasn't sacked. His contract wasn't renewed. Let's give him a bit of, So what's your thought? Obviously, defensive line wasn't very good all season, whether that's personnel or coaching. I think maybe Brian, obviously we're not there and we don't actually see it day to day, but there's definitely a systematic flaw with the scheme. But obviously, just get your thoughts on Eberflus really, and obviously he's moved on.
Yeah, I'm not gonna, like we've said plenty of times. I've criticised Flus loads, but I've also welcomed it when he's played a Stormer. I wish him luck in his new role in
Miami.
Where's he go? Miami. Is that where he went? No.
Chicago.
Chicago. That's it. I wish him luck. Just like our old head coach Chuck, I'd never, have any bad things to say about guys. I disagree with his style of play. For example, look at the Rams knew they had a better defensive line than the Bengals' offensive line. They overloaded one side, knowing that the center had to go with one of them. And if it was us in that Super Bowl, we would have seen the same 4 rushers with a 1 tech and a 3 tech on the either side, and that's it. And it's just like, why? I know Gus Bradley's the new head coach. I don't know if we've got a new D-line coach.
Not yet.
But for me, there's only one man for the job for the D-line coach, and it's Big Bob Mathis. If we don't go and get Robert Mathis as a defensive line coach, I don't know what's the point. Mm-hmm. He's a legend. He's feared around the league. Players would have a massive amount of respect for him. Other teams he would have a presence in the building. Other teams would have to plan for Robert Mathis's defensive line.
Yeah. And
he loves the team. You see it on Twitter. He tweets almost every day about the Colts.
Yeah, I was just about to say, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see what Gus Bradley can bring. I've not really looked into his system. I've seen an interview where he dismantled the theory that he only runs cover 3. And I was impressed by what he had to say. But anyone can talk the talk. What Gus Bradley brings is accountability, which we've not seen a lot of under this current front 3, shall we say.
Yeah. No, so just wrote a couple of bits, just obviously planning for the show. 9 years defensive coordinator, 4 years head coach. Obviously head coach with the Jaguars, which, he had a losing record. But what I like about that is obviously he's gone in, he's been a head coach, hopefully learned from his mistakes, gone back as a defensive coordinator, and hopefully so then he brings that little bit extra, a little bit more advice for Frank Reich, hopefully, and just someone else has been in that position, failed. And obviously when you fail, you hopefully learn. My concern is that he hasn't coached in 2 years.
Yeah.
Obviously the NFL moves on quickly.
Very quickly.
So, that's my only hesitancy. He was a defensive coordinator at Seattle Seahawks when they started with the Legion of Boom.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they were elite. They had elite individuals where I probably could have gone in and coached that scheme with what they had in there. But again, he's got those pieces. He's got Darius. He's got Rock. He's got that defensive line. He's got some pieces. So there's no reason why, hopefully, the Seahawks went to Super Bowls on the back of their defense.
Yeah.
And they went and won things because of their defense. So hopefully if we can kind of recreate that. But obviously we're expecting hopefully the defensive line that should be sorted by, I think it's March, isn't it? Usually the coaches are in by March. So then end of March, that's when contracts and stuff start getting discussed. But looking at the AFC South as well, they've obviously had a couple of other head coaches change over. Obviously, Doug Peterson is the head coach for the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Which would be fun if obviously Carson's still there. Obviously, he's at our rivals. Obviously, apparently there was a bit of friction as they were leaving the door, so that should be fun. Yeah. And then Lovie Smith taking over at Texans.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, both franchises are a shower of shit.
Yeah.
Let's put it like Jacksonville. They've got this Trevor Lawrence. They've got a new quarterback whispering apparently this week as well. Lovie Smith, he comes from the Dungy coaching tree.
Mm-hmm.
But he hasn't. Obviously, if you're taking Gus Bradley as he hasn't coached in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
But Lovie Smith hasn't been in the NFL for 5 years. And for me, it was just a really, really weird appointment that was.
I think they're missing a trick, these NFL owners, especially these NFL owners that are stuck in, like we say, turmoil. I think the Jags make the playoffs once every 5-10 years or something, but they're a bit of a laughing stock, although they beat us every time. But I don't understand why you wouldn't go for someone unknown. But I mean, maybe that's come from being an Arsenal fan. Obviously, we went with Arsene Wenger, who was unknown at the time, or unknown to English media, so we say. And we went with Arteta, and it was unknown what he could do as a coach. The Colts have never really gone with the unknown, if that makes sense. We picked up some great coaches along the way, Frank Reich included. But you look at what the unknown has brought to the Colts, Bubba Ventrone. You tell me 3 years ago that Bubba Ventrone is going to be one of the best special team coaches around without Vinatieri and Pat McAfee.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. But yeah, I think with the owners and obviously with the GMs, because it's such, it's all about, obviously if they're putting their multi-billion pounds in charge of someone, they want obviously someone that's going to put bums on seats, and have that unknown quantity, obviously when obviously
does Peterson put bums on seats?
I think Jaguars was such a car crash. They just needed someone that's been there and done it that can steady the ship. But if you look at what happened in Philadelphia, yes, they had that good run where obviously they went and won a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. But if you look at, it was Frank Reich. It was, they had such a good defense, which obviously Doug Peterson had nothing to do with either. And, they had a couple of game wreckers where he's going into Jacksonville and, he'll be out of a job again in 18 months.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But if we're looking at just the head coaches, Vrabel obviously got Coach of the Year from the NFL.
I don't understand why.
Do you not?
No. Worst one seed in history.
I'd agree with that, but I'd say throughout the season, with everyone deals with injuries, but they used the most number of players in the season.
They weren't a bad team before they got these players in.
Yeah, that's fair.
Granted, you got Derrick Henry injured. That is a big part of your game.
Yeah.
But they didn't adapt well when Derrick Henry got injured. For me, the coach of the year should be someone who adapts well. And I'm not just saying this because it's a Titans coach. I can admit that out of the past 20 years, Bill Belichick's probably the coach of the decade because he adapted. Yeah. For me, I think it's a bit of a skewed award anyway, because how does Sean McVay not win that award? Why? Because he has an expensive team and limited injuries? That's not up to him.
Hey, they went and got Matt Stafford, who has probably won 10 games in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Apparently Matt Stafford was the problem in Detroit.
Yeah. I even believe it. Is he called Zach Taylor, the Bengals head coach?
Mm.
Apart from calling a horrendous Super Bowl, getting the Bengals to the playoffs after being the worst team the year before.
Absolutely.
To me, I mean, that the whole award for head coach is a bit, because even if Frank Reich got it, you've been saying, say the Colts get to the playoffs as the 2 seed and go one further game and Frank Reich gets it, I'll be saying, really? Because
no. But look, let's look at the end of year awards. Of the MVP, Aaron Rodgers.
No,
I definitely agree with
Cup,
that.
Mate. Cooper Cup should be the MVP, maybe.
He got the Offensive Player of the Year, but not the MVP.
Yeah, we all know it's the quarterback award, don't we?
Yeah, but even that, Aaron Rodgers had some beautiful games, but I think he won that on his media availability for me. Because he does the Pat McAfee show, because he's outspoken. A couple of weeks ago, he was being called scum because he lied about the vaccine.
Yeah.
It's how quickly things can turn. Obviously, Offensive Player of the Year, Cooper Cup, which I don't think anyone can really Obviously we can call JT because obviously but
I think if we make the playoffs, JT gets it, but it's well deserved. I can't argue. Yeah, well deserved.
And Defensive Player of the Year was TJ Watt. Darius didn't get a vote, which for me, I would say I agree with. I don't think he was fit. I don't think his general play was to his usual standard and level. Obviously, he had all the punches. He had that takeaway, which I think he's learned because of his ankle, because he hasn't been as mobile.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think Darius was deserving of at least one vote?
I think he was deserved of being in the conversation. For me personally, it was between TJ and Donald, because just absolute game records, both of them, and 22 and a half sacks.
Correct,
that is mental.
Yeah.
What's that about? I'm no good at maths, but like 1.3 sacks a game.
About that, yeah.
Something like that. So it's, I can't be salty at it was, because at the end of the day as well, I mean, the Steelers didn't make the playoffs either, I don't think, did they?
Nah, because Big Ben, he was...
Yeah, so, but teams walked up and down the field on the Colts, and whether you put it down to scheme, players, injuries, whatever, it just can't happen. And it was once a game.
TJ Watt, like we said a few weeks ago, TJ Watt is my favourite non-Colts player in the NFL, just because of what he brings. He is an absolute beast.
Mm-hmm.
And he is a joy to watch. Moving on, obviously keeping the Colts. Obviously, we've had interviews from Ballard this week, Reichs this week, and obviously Irsay's been tweeting. Just want to kind of get your thoughts on it, because the three seem very disjointed in their messages that are coming out. Obviously, this week, Reichs kind of intimated that Wentz possibly is the guy going forward. Obviously, Ballard's kind of, he was talking, I think, today about wide receivers, and he was like, well, we could probably do with one or two, but we've got a couple of good young guys, obviously very coy again. And Irsay just seems like that crazy uncle in the corner that's just going off on one, just really random ramble. So just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on the direction of those kind of head three.
I don't think it's disjointed or arguing, or
I wouldn't say argue. It just seems like there's obviously what, like, again, for me, like, it'd be good to just get one message that unity.
I feel Ballard said it himself. He got an arse chewing. Frank Reich went to bat for his guy, and it cost the Colts quite a bit. Although I'm not seeing anyone in this draft class that, I'm gutted we missed out on him because of this trade.
Yeah.
A first round draft is big capita. So I think there is friction there, because Jim Irsay's like, what on earth's happened? We should have been in that. I'm getting to the point now where I want to spite myself and stand up for Carson because of the shit he is getting. There's numerous they call themselves sources. They're not. There's people trying to get clicks and retweets and stuff, trying to run this guy out of town. If you want to blame that, then okay. I've got a question for you, Robbie. What's worse? You tell me what's worse. Losing and winning in game, or throwing an interception when you need a touchdown on the last drive of your Super Bowl.
I hate seeing that interception, but if it's a case of, last seconds, then you're like, okay.
What if I told you that interception was thrown by Peyton Manning against the Saints and Carson Wentz? And Carson Wentz through that, didn't get the winning in game. Do you know what I mean? If
Carson gets all the negative comments because he's Carson.
Yeah, if Twitter was around back then, we would have been calling for Peyton Manning's head. And people would be saying, oh, he's a choke artist. They wouldn't be saying he's the GOAT. You know, so it's really annoying me that this whole trade bollocks has come up before the 18th of March. He's going to get traded because a couple of small-time YouTubers like myself don't want the guy. And they absolutely generated this out of nothing. It infuriates.
Well, officially, we have 45 days until I'm going to talk about the Colts QB situation. Yeah. You know my position on Carson.
Yeah.
You know, if he's with us, great. If he's not, wish him best of luck.
Yeah.
You know, there's too many variables at the moment to even have a discussion on a QB where he's still got a job. You know, Pittsburgh there's so many gaps in the market still, so there's no point in even looking at that. Hence why I'm on a 45-day. I literally just googled how many days to the 1st of April, and we've got 45 days. And the good thing about the 1st of April, because everyone's gonna be in contract.
Yeah.
So then we're gonna know a lot more. I just hate this stupid Twitter. Oh, he's definitely not coming back. You know, or Irsay's not wanting to pay him, or you know, Irsay's happy to swallow the cap hit. I'm like, just shut the fuck up. Like you don't know.
We don't know. That's you know, people are saying, oh, look at the way he wrote the tweet, or look at the way Frank Reich doesn't say these exact words in an interview. You know, what's annoyed me is none of them come out and backed up Carson Wentz until Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor came out and said, oh, he's our guy. You know.
Definitely got to agree with you, Harrison, as you go on mute.
It was just work. But no, it's just getting to a point. Like, you know, I'm just sick of it. I couldn't care if, like I said, I was willing to ride Jacob Eason to a Super Bowl. I still believe Carson Wentz can get us there. Michael Pittman was the only receiver that had over 1,000 yards. Not even that, probably over like 500 yards.
It was a bad situation, but you know, we got a long off season.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
We're gonna obviously. I'm going to obviously put out the invitation very shortly to, you know, we can do a kind of off-season kind of interviewing different fans from around the world. You know, we could do Colt stuff. I guess we can have a chat about our off-season plans because we've got many months.
Yeah. Was there something? I'm sure there was something I wanted to bring up. I can't think what it was. Oh dear, it's gone.
Add it to next week. Just text me in the week whenever you got it, and we can add it to next week. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
But no, we've done almost 45 minutes, mate. So should we call it a night?
Yeah, let's call it a night. Unless you have anything else.
No, that was it. I wanted to go through the Super Bowl, coaching changes, Colts leadership, end of year awards, and then obviously let's stay away from the rumor mill because every trash take is out there.
Exactly. That was it. The best one I've seen. This is the best one I've seen. It's sort of a two-parter. But I had my own little interaction with a blue tick person, Mr. Derek Schultz. Schultz.
Oh, I did see that.
And his argument was Grigson was better at his job than Chuck Pagano. I completely said no, that's not true. Quoting Robert Mathis and Pat McAfee.
Yep.
And he said, well, of course the players are going to like Pagano. Your argument's not relevant. I don't know. If Derek wants to come on the show and discuss, I'll be happy to. But that's a horrendous point of view that Chuck Pagano was worse at his job than Ryan Grigson.
I'm definitely on that train. I definitely saw that you put out there about Trent Richardson, which, you know, that's got to kind of hopefully hit home. But, you know, everyone's entitled to their opinion. obviously he gets paid to obviously put his across in the Indie Star, I think it is. But you come back with opinions of people that was in those rooms, in those meeting rooms, in that environment. He come back with no evidence or no comment.
He just came back with that's not valid.
So for me, that's just his opinion.
Yeah.
Whereas you're coming across with points of view of people that are actually in there. That to me sums up. That is the Sun. That is the Daily Mail. That is, that is those that put per sources. Well, you don't know anything.
Yeah.
You just put your opinion across, which is fine. I can have my opinion of, I think Ryan Kelly's a waste of money.
Yeah.
Well, I can actually back it up to prove that he isn't a waste of money. That he was the first part of this offensive line that was drafted and actually gave us a bit of steel, a bit of metal. But that was just a throwaway comment that makes no sense. And Derek Schultz, feel free to come on, and I will absolutely love to discuss it with you because that I'm pro Pagano.
I'm not here to clickbait someone or to I blocked him, I won the argument. I'm not here to do that.
But we don't do that anyway.
Derek probably knows a lot more about football than I do because it's his life where he's growing up.
Yeah.
But like you said, I could turn around and say to you, Matt Eberflus is the worst defensive coordinator of all time and shouldn't get a job anywhere else. And you can say, well, that's not true. And the reply would be me going, well, no, it is.
Well, my comment should
my
be,
dad's bigger than your dad.
So it should be okay. We'll prove it. Give me the stats. Give me something to actually swayed me, because the whole point about talking about sports, we've all got opinions, but if you're going to have any kind of credibility, you need to be able to back it up. Whereas there's a lot of media that don't back it up, and that's fine, but you come across as a clown.
Yeah, and my last thing is Viking fans, if you have anything about you, run Ryan Grigson out of town. Look at what he did to Andrew Luck. Look at what he's done to Baker Mayfield. Look at what he'll do to whoever your quarterback is in the next couple of years.
Cousins.
Will he still be around?
He's another one of them middle of the road quarterback. Not like I talk about. Obviously, you get the elites, and then you get that little section underneath. Kirk Cousins will go and win you a couple of games, then he'll be really just average. And there's that thing. I went to an evening with the NFL UK with Kirk Cousins, and he openly said, "My mental state during a game fluctuates." So he has some mind thing that he uses, like it's an actual contraption he actually puts on that actually monitor the nerve receptors in our actual brain, and so he actually works on part of it to actually help his mental state throughout the game, to actually help him stay focused and stay sharp, because he was noticing during a game he'd just lose parts of the game because he wasn't focused in on it, which and for a quarterback to come out and say that is refreshing. And he's got that. What I like about Kirk Cousins, he come in the draft with Andrew Luck and RG3. Obviously, RG3 was a starter at Washington, but then he ended up being a starter at Washington and obviously traded for that big money at the Vikings. So, he come in as a third string quarterback, and he's managed to have a career, fourth round, I think he was. So the parts of him that I do like, but he'll certainly, if Grigson gets his way on it, they'll just trade away the offensive line and go for wide receivers that, like Philip Dorsett, like Bjorn Werner, like Trent Richardson, again, Derek Schultz. There you go. Just,
it's an open invitation. I want to hear why he believes what he believes. I'm not. We said it a million times, and we can say it a million times. I'm not just here to say my opinion's right and yours is wrong. If he can break down why he thinks Chuck Pagano is better, I might turn around and go, "Oh, sorry, Chuck Pagano was worse." I might turn around and go, "Do you know what? Yeah, you're right. Actually, maybe we need to look at this again."
But we love that though. We like, it's having a proper conversation rather than just opinion. But
But
They
yeah,
are all out
that's
there,
it.
mate. They are all out there. Well, Harrison, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
It has been lovely talking to you again, mate.
Yeah.
And let's do it again next week.
Let's do it again next week.
Cheers, Harrison. See you later, buddy. Have a great
See you
one.
later. Bye.